Hi everyone, David Burgess here again with Keller Williams Realty. I hope you're doing well. Today's video is to discuss the resale market of 2021 so far. In my previous video, I assured you that I would have this video out within a few days. So here I am in Lakewood Ranch on Main Street on this beautiful morning. And we are going to discuss what's been going on in 2021 so far. I felt the need to do this because there's things that have been going on this year in real estate that I just haven't seen before in this market. So I wanted to discuss that, and I'm going to walk you through the homes that I've represented as a buyer, a buyer's agent and a listing agent. And also I'm going to show you some of the homes that I've missed out on and walk you through those as well. And if this is an informative video and you like it, please let me know, because I haven't done one of these before, and I'm going to plan on doing 3 or 4 per year as more and more transactions go on through 2021. So yeah, let me know. Okay, so I'm going to start off by saying, and you probably are already aware of this, the inventory is unbelievably low right now. In the Tampa Bay market, there was 1.3 months worth of inventory. Compare that to this time last year, there was 3.8 months worth of inventory. And what that basically means is that if there was no more listings to hit the market from now on out, it would take 1.3 months to sell absolutely every home that's for sale out there. I cannot stress enough how low that is, and that's probably why, if you're coming across any decent homes and that really stand out, that they just go within like 24 or 48 hours. It's just the market right now. And we are starting to see interest rates creep up a little bit, which is actually a really good thing. It's going to help stabilize the market a little bit. They've been rock bottom now for a good year or so, and I think if they creep up a little bit into the 3s, that may help a little bit. As I just go back to those stats, in Sarasota, the numbers are a little bit higher, but still very, very low. 1.8 months worth of inventory in Sarasota, and this time last year, it was 5.5 months. Now, the numbers there are a little bit higher, but that is still a very big gap. The numbers are higher here because there are more luxury homes and there are more kind of condos and villas, maintenance-free neighborhoods where the HOA fees are a lot higher. So they tend to sit on the market for longer, those types of homes. But either way, there's a very strong likelihood that you'll be in a multiple offer situation if you are looking for a resale home, which is fine. We can only give it our best shot, but it's just going to be a little bit harder getting under contract. And things like closing costs that would normally be in like a resale negotiation here in Florida, where the seller contributes like up to 3% towards closing costs, they're just not there now. You won't see hardly any sellers commit, and agree to those kind of terms. So multiple offer situations, and before I walk you through the homes that I've got under contract for, what I would suggest is an escalation clause. What that basically does is that, if there was a home on the market for $500,000 and you were going to make an offer at full price at $500,000, you may want to add an escalation clause, which basically says that you're willing to pay $1,000 over a certain amount higher than that $500,000, or $500 over. And what that really does is that it means that you're not unnecessarily paying over the odds for the home. What the escalation clause says and states is that if the seller can provide you a higher offer than the one that you submitted, say somebody else went in at 510, then you would be willing to pay $1,000 over or $500 over the highest offer over yours, which basically means that you're just not going to overpay for the home. I've had a couple of these recently that I've been involved with, and I'll walk you through these shortly. But yeah, let's dive on into my transactions so far in 2021. Listing agent this year, I have, my wife and I have represented 5 sellers, so we've had 5 listings hit the market. Needless to say, all of them went very, very quickly. 4 of them were within the first 24 to 48 hours, and 1 of them took about 10 days, but this was a home in Davenport where it's like a Airbnb short-term rental kind of neighborhood, and there was 37 listings in this neighborhood, but fortunately we were priced right, and the home was on a beautiful lot, and it sold pretty quickly and sold for full price. So yeah, it's a very unique neighbourhood, let's put it that way. But firstly, let me just show you, we had 2 listings in Lando Lakes. Firstly, we had this one on Broad Porch Run. We had the very first offer was full price, and we listed at 440. We had an offer at 440. The appraisal actually came in at 420, and I'm going to talk about appraisals at the end of this. But the buyer was willing to come out of pocket by 5,000, and the seller was willing to come out of pocket by 5,000 and come down. And I did notice there was an incorrect appraisal, so we actually got the appraisal value up by about 8,000, and in the end we came to terms on it because the sellers were moving to South Carolina and they desperately needed to sell the home because they didn't want to miss out on their other home. So we ended up coming to terms of that at 435, and the buyer came out of pocket by 5,000, but that was one day gone. Round the corner in the same community in Bexley, we had this townhouse on the market on red brick, and that home had 9 offers within the first 24 hours, had 13 showings. The lady who was selling it, we just said, look, just step out for the day because the home is going to be a bit of a circus, and there's like a new Amazon hub which is right around the corner, and it looked like a lot of the employees there were it was just perfect, like walking distance to this new kind of Amazon facility. And yeah, we had 9 offers. Now, I listed that was like a low end listing. It was like 238 we listed it for, and we had many offers into the 250s, but I just knew it wasn't going to appraise at that. So the offer we actually went with was one that was at 252, but we stipulated in there that they would pay a minimum of 240 if the appraisal came in low. The appraisal came in at 230, and needless to say, that kicked into the clause that we had in there with the contract, so that jumped up the sales price up to 240. So we just protected our seller that way. But in a multiple offer situation like that, what we did was just said, look, we're in a multiple offer situation. There is a deadline at 10 a.m. the following morning to have your highest and best offer, and we went with that. We went with the very best offer. I'm going to talk you through another home on the buyer's side where I was working with a listing agent who did something completely opposite, and it really just didn't sit well with us whatsoever. But anyway, moving on, we had this listing in Apollo Beach in Mirror Bay. And this is just something I've never seen before. We got under contract really quickly, the first weekend, full price, around 300,000 or so. And the walkthrough and the appraisal was fine. We got through everything. The walkthrough for the buyers happened, and they got to the title company, and their lender said to the buyer, sorry, we're not going to be able to close on this home today. The buyer had taken out 4 lines of furniture credit the previous weekend, which completely ballsed up the whole deal. The wife was in tears. We had to put the home back on the market. But this is something, like I was going to say, something I've never seen before. We put the home back on the market, and within 24 hours we had a full price cash offer, and we closed 5 days later. Never seen that before. Absolute madness. But anyway, that one sold in no time. We listed a mobile home in Lithia, and we don't usually list mobile homes, but this was from a buyer who we helped a couple of years ago, and we listed this home on 2 acres, and I've never had so many phone calls for one listing in my life. I think it's just because it had no HOA, it was in a great school zone, and it was a really nice mobile home, and it was on acreage. And we listed it at 250, and we got under contract with that in hours. But I've had so many phone calls from that home. I had one lady message me this, which you can see in the background. She said, she asked me about how much the home was. I said it was 250, and she thought it was outrageous. She said that shame on me for ripping people off. And obviously we priced it right because it appraised right, and we had a ton of offers in the first day. So I think there is a lot of the older generation that still seem to think that these homes on acreage, or mobile homes especially, are going to be like under 100,000. If they're in a great location, they will absolutely sell very well, and for top dollar. So yeah, that is our listings. So that's been our listings so far. I've mentioned the Davenport one as well, which sold in about 10 days, but every other one of them sold within like 24 hours. So that's listings concluded. We're now going to move on to my buyer sales. Okay, so I started off the year really well with this home in River Wind. This one sold in Bradenton for 610. This was in January, so things were a little bit calmer then, and that was a very smooth closing. Buyers moved from Las Vegas. We looked at a lot of homes, and we got under contract for this beautiful home on a nice pond view, 3-car garage. That was a very smooth one, no appraisal concerns. We then moved on to this home. I helped this buyer move here from California in Quail Run in Sarasota. This is going back to that escalation clause. We used that on this home. It was listed at 355, and what's ironic is we actually missed out on a similar home about a week prior that was nowhere near as nice. It was a little bit less, but it had no pool. It wasn't on a great lot. Similar age, like an 80s built Sarasota home, single family home. But this one was listed at 355. Multiple offer situation, and our escalation clause actually went as high as 375. Now, we actually put in there that we would go like $500, or it might have even been $100 over the next best offer, and the next best offer was like 358, so it was only like 3,000 higher. So that just goes to show you why the escalation clause is so good, because we said we would be willing to go to 375, but they could only show us another offer that was as high as 358. So the buyer actually paid for it in cash, and beautiful little home, and it was 358, 600 I think it worked out to be in the end. The buyer was very happy. Beautiful little neighborhood, very established, mature landscaping, and yeah, you know, a low HOA fee, so that was an awesome one. We also got under contract for this one in Artisan Lakes within the Esplanade community. Helped a buyer move here from New York. Loved the community, and they're still building in there, but there was just no lots available for months. And then the resale home come up here, and the buyer just wanted to pay full price, and it's just a great home. It's the Taylor Morrison Farnese. It's like 5 years old, kept in a really nice condition, and he moved in that via a reverse mortgage very quickly, within like 30 or 40 days. So that was the other one. And then we had this one here in Whispering Park Lane in Tampa. This one is like a stone's throw from the Raymond James Stadium, and this one was under contract right around Super Bowl weekend. Like the walkthrough was like the day before the Super Bowl, so it was a bit crazy. Obviously, if COVID was around, it would have been 10 times more. COVID wasn't here, it would have been 10 times more crazy with the stadium being full. Now this one was on the market for 360, and the buyer wanted to pay over the odds. It was a multiple offer situation. She wanted to pay up to 18,000 over the asking price. So we got under contract at 378, but it actually appraised at like 365. The seller was being pretty greedy, didn't want to come down, and apparently they'd had another appraisal fall through before this one as well. So in the end, we came to a conclusion of 372 on that one, when the buyer paid 12,000 out of pocket, but it didn't look like the seller was going to move, and if not, he would have had to have gone back on the market and hoped for a cash offer, which could have happened, but this buyer was willing to pay 12,000 over the appraised price, and it took him a good few days to actually accept. So, but in the end, we got there with that one, and we moved on. Now, I did miss out on this one in Land O'Lakes. This one was listed at 450, and we put an escalation clause in there up to 465, and this agent was just horrible, to be honest. He called me on the Sunday and was like, yeah, yours is the best offer. They had a deadline in place. We made the offer on the Friday, and the deadline was like the Sunday at like 12 o'clock. He called me on the Sunday and said, yeah, yours is the best offer. And there was like 8 other offers, but yours was the best. However, we are going to call around, and we are going to go back to every other agent and see if they want to come up higher than you. And I just thought that was really crappy, to be honest. We'd given it our best shot. We were the highest ones within the deadline, and then in the end, up to 24 hours later, he's still calling all of these agents saying, will you go higher? What will you offer? And I just said to my buyer, look, at this stage, I would just walk away. I thought ethically it was really poor. And he really couldn't have gone any higher anyway. There was, we went up on the escrow payment. We came down on the inspection days. And I got to a stage where you have to be willing to walk away unless you're going to pay
well over the odds. So yeah, from that one we walked away, and we're still looking. And on the higher end, I very nearly helped a buyers purchase this home here in Parish. Listed at 1.35 million. This is a beautiful property. We actually got under contract for it for 1.25. Buyers came up and looked at it. They just weren't willing to move forward with it at that price. The home just had a lot of deferred maintenance, and it just wasn't in a good condition. Like, it needed honestly, if they had put money into it over the years, it would be worth $1.25 million. But at the moment, I would say this house is probably worth just over $1 million. It backs up to the Manatee River. It's on a beautiful pond. It has acreage. It has a lovely, long, winding driveway. But the buyer just couldn't, in good conscience, buy that home. And he was a cash buyer, so there was no appraisal to save the day, or a financial aspect to the contract that could protect him. And when we looked at everything that needed to be doing, we had the inspection, and it's an built in 86, and it just needed a lot of work. And honestly, the quality and the appointments in there just did not reflect a $1.25 million home. And in the end, they just parted ways. And we've actually got an offer on another home in Panther Ridge this morning in Bradenton. So fingers crossed that one works out. And then something else I've never seen before. This home in Lutz in Cheval. We were under contract for this home at $1,035,000. And it was listed at 1,080. So we came down by about 50,000. Seller agreed, got under contract. Buyer was working with Rocket Mortgage, and I'm not a big fan of Rocket Mortgage, and I will not be working with them for the time being. I really won't. They took forever and a day to order the appraisal for this home. Once they ordered it, the appraiser took 2 weeks to come out and actually see the home, and then another 5 days went by before we actually got the report back. Now, this was a very unique listing. It basically is a 3,300 square foot home surrounded by much bigger homes in the 5,500 square foot range, and there was no real comparables. So the problem we had is this house had a complete renovation, and a lot of the other homes hadn't around it. And the seller, we could tell the seller was a little bit concerned about the appraisal and if it would appraise. The appraisal actually eventually came in at over the agreed price, but we were both of the opinion that it probably won't appraise. And if it doesn't come in, can the buyer come out of pocket? They potentially could have done, but what happened was something I'd never seen before, and we had already had one extension because of the appraisal delay. But we come to another extension we probably needed another 3 or 4 days, and the seller said no. And the seller had already let the appraiser in. They'd already given them access to the gated community and said, yeah, inspect the home. We know the appraisal is only going to take a few days. And then from there, they just turned around and said, look, we're not willing to wait anymore. We honestly think we can get this home back on the market and get it under contract for higher than what we have with you, and we're actually regretting coming to terms with you at the price that we did. So they gave us back our escrow payment, and then we moved on. Buyers were very unhappy. They were moving from Vegas, there was nothing really we could do. We'd gone as far as we possibly could, but we needed the sellers to extend. If they're not willing to extend, and you are at the hands of the lender and the appraiser, we have to rely on the sellers to be agreeable. Again, I've never seen that before. Most sellers will give you 2 extensions if it's just within a few days or a week. They weren't willing to do it. Now they're back under contract for somebody else at a higher price, and they'll close within the next 2 or 3 weeks, most likely. So, yeah, that's what's going on out there. And while I have you, just to discuss appraisals, yes, they are a bit of an issue at the moment. The good side of them is that they are being very responsible. It's not like 2008 where they're just handing out mortgages for fun. The appraisers are keeping values in check, and they're keeping the market stable, because if it wasn't for appraisers at the moment, prices would be going out of control, and there's no doubt about that. However, some appraisers are pretty much prioritizing the homes that are easy, the ones that are like cookie cutter homes. They can go in and out, and they can value a home like that. The ones like this one in Cheval, I know for a fact that they took so long to get out there because it was a hard home to appraise. It's the same as that mobile home that we listed. It's not an easy one to appraise. It takes longer. It takes them longer to inspect, to look at all the comparables, to weigh up the value. Whereas the ones that are the cookie cutter ones, they're the ones that are going a lot quicker. An appraisal turnaround isn't too bad whatsoever. So yeah, we are very much bound by appraisals, and I will walk you through all of that and give you all of my guidance and advice with how to handle that if you're on the listing side or the buyer side. But yeah, it's pretty crazy times right now. So I hope that helped a little bit, just to show you what's been going on in 2021 so far. Like I said, I haven't done a video like this before, so let me know if it was good. And I've tried to include all the photos that I can for you to give you a good representation of what I'm talking about and reflection. But yeah, anyway, all of my contact information is below as usual. I don't like to talk as much as I have through this video, and this video is longer than most that I do, but I'm trying to mix up my content, and I do have another video coming out in the next week or so to discuss Lennar and WCI homes. That one's a pretty interesting one, and yeah, if you've got any other content recommendations, please let me know. But yeah, thanks again, and if you haven't already subscribed, please do so, and if you can give this video a thumbs up, it'd be much appreciated. Have a great day. Take care.